everybody, it's Sarah and I have just been talking for 15 minutes and only just noticed that my camera wasn't turned on. So let's start again. This video is going to be the first video for Bookmas this year, which I'm going to try and do for the first time ever this year. So you will get one video a day until December 24th, until Christmas obviously. And yeah, I'm kind of excited, but I'm also a little bit nervous because I have all videos planned already, so I do know which videos I want to do and when I want to do them. But quite a few of them are gonna be discussion videos and also reviews. And reviews tend to be quite short for me, but discussion videos tend to take me the longest to film and edit. So maybe that wasn't a smart decision, but oh well. I'm gonna do it anyway because I set the bar high for myself. But anyway, today's video, the first Bookmas video for December the 1st, is going to be my reading stats for November, as well as my thoughts on the books that I read in the second half of November, so my reading wrap up. But I have also, as always, already done a mid-month wrap up, so if you want to know which books I read in the first half of November and my thoughts on them, I will leave that link down below and up there because I won't mention them in this video. So yeah, let's get started with stats. This month I read a total of 16 books, which is quite good. I've gotten like really good to always be solidly over 10 books per month in the last few, like 4 months or so, which I'm kind of happy about and kind of proud of because I did change my reading a little bit. But yeah, so 16 books, one of which was a reread, and then the other 15 obviously were new to me. One of the books was a middle grade, 4 were YA, and the other 11 were adult novels. Then in terms of genres, as always, most of my books, or like the biggest chunk of my books, were high fantasy. I had 6 of those this month. I had 3 classics. I had 2 urban fantasy, 2 historical fantasy, and the miscellaneous genres were I had 1 sci-fi, I had 1 literary fiction, and then I had 1 fairy tale collection. And all in all the books that I read this month came out to a total of about 7,930 pages. So almost 8,000 pages, which makes this the month that I read the most in this year page-wise. Of course, books-wise, that was last month, that was October, or the month before, because last month now already is November. It's always so confusing. Anyway, the most books I read in October, but a lot of those books were quite short, while this month I read a lot of really chunky books, which you will see in a moment as I go through them. Then star ratings wise, my books were kind of so-so. I had 1 5-star, I had 5 4 stars, so that is quite good. I had 4 3.5 stars, I had 2 2.5 stars, and I had 1 2-star. And I also had 2 books that I did not rate at all. And that came out to an average about like 3.5 stars, which is a bit lower than I would like to have read as an average. But then again, I had The Lady of the Lake as well as To Sleep in a Sea of Stars on this month's like reading list. I read it this month, that's what I meant. And the 2 books are definitely gonna be on my biggest disappointments and like worst books of 2020, so I guess what is to be expected. So now that we have the stats out of the way, let's get into my thoughts on the books that I read in the second half of the month. As always, I will go in order of like star rating from lowest to highest, although I do have 1 currently reading, which I usually don't have on my end of the month wrap-ups, because usually I try to be done with all the books that I started by the end of the month, and then like if I know I won't finish a book before the month is over, I will just only start it in the next month and not start it like on the very last day of November or something. But I did break that rule of mine this month. So I do have a currently reading, and that is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This is the uncensored and unedited edition. I did take the dust jacket off. There's usually a dust jacket on here. I am barely done with the introduction, so I haven't started with the novel yet, but this novel version is the version that like Oscar Wilde's editor got on his desk. It's even before it was published the first time in a journal, which I thought that was that version. I thought that was the version that was published in a journal, which was then edited again to be published as a book. However, this is the version that wasn't even published in a journal, but that was like his original manuscript, kind of. So yeah, I'm excited to get into this, and apparently it's really gay. I mean, the original, like, you know, the book version is already pretty gay, but yeah, excited to finish this. So first I want to talk about the book that I didn't read, and that is Le Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory. And now that I'm done reading it, I feel like I can use, you know, the pretty edition to use as a display, you know? I didn't read from this one because I don't read from my pretty books. I literally own these to just display them. But anyway, Le Morte d'Arthur is one of like the most well-known and most divisive collections of stories surrounding King Arthur, as well as the Knights of the Round Table. And in fact, like, I would say 80% of this book, Arthur doesn't even appear, but you're just following like the different knights. And it can get quite confusing because there's so many of them. And then sometimes there's like pages of banquets and of battles, and it's pages upon pages of just telling you which knight is there and which king is there and so on. So yeah, it's definitely not a book that I would say I enjoyed reading. However, I am proud that I have read this. Also because, of course, it was on my 2020 readings goals list to finally read this. It's not written in a way where most people would enjoy it, I think. There's not really any story structure to it. It's written quite easily for like when this was written. This is a lot easier to read than a lot of other classics that I have read, but it's just written in a way where it's just, and he went there, and he did this, and then he met da-da-dum, and then he saw that, and she was beautiful. Like it's written in a very simple way. But yeah, I'm still happy I read this. I did not rate it because it kind of, I don't know, it would feel weird for me to rate this because I didn't really read it for enjoyment purposes. So does it really matter that I didn't enjoy it? No, not really, because I read this to have read it. So that's why I didn't rate it. Next, Crossroads of Twilight by Robert Jordan, which is the 10th book in the Wheel of Time series. As far as I've heard, Knife of Dreams, which is the next book, is when the slog is finally over and is one of the best books in the series. And I really hope that is the case because, damn it, this was boring. I felt like at the end of this book we were exactly where we started, like nothing really happened that propelled the story forward. And yeah, I just didn't like it. That's why I gave it 2.5 stars or 2 stars. 2.5 stars, I think. But yeah, so I'm excited to get to Knife to Dreams and to know finally that the slog of the Wheel of Time is over. Yay, my storage was once again full. But anyway, next book I want to talk about is The Bone-Jarred Daughter by Andrea Stewart, which is a debut novel and the first book in the Drowning Empire series. I won't talk about this too much because this was a buddy read for my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, where we read one adult high fantasy written by a woman per month, and I always do reviews for the buddy reads of that book club. Also, if you're interested in joining, first of all the links are down in the description box, and also our book for December is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which is already on the way to me and I'm really excited for that. So yeah, not gonna say too much, but overall I would say it's a solid debut. I gave this 3 stars, which for me 3 stars can be kind of like, it was good enough, but 3 stars can also be like, yeah, this was a solid book, this was a solid read. And this definitely falls into the second category. And yeah, I thought that there were some things that were kind of unclear and that were a little bit like shallowly done. But overall, I really enjoyed kind of the atmosphere of the setting and everything. And I enjoyed the magic system, so yeah, I can recommend it. Also, maybe I should tell you what this is about. This is about this kingdom where there's this magic where you can use bone shards to like animate constructs. And constructs, what they are, basically, I think, as far as I understood, they're like body parts of animals sewn together, and through a bone shard you write your command on them. You can kind of animate them and make them like into robot style animated things. And we're following our main character Lynn as well as some other characters. But Lynn is the Emperor's daughter. However, she does not have any of her memories, and because of that her father doesn't want to give her the secret for bone shard magic. And so we follow Lynn as she tries to kind of get her birthright as the Emperor's daughter to said magic, because only the Emperors and Empresses of this country have bone shard magic. And yeah, as I said, I did enjoy it. I thought it was a solid debut, and I'm definitely looking forward to the sequel next year. Then I'm just gonna quickly throw this in here because I forgot to talk about my reread at the very beginning of the video. But my reread this month was The Lightning Thief, which is the first book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series by Rick Riordan. I did talk about it in my December TBR that I kind of felt like rereading this series, and so I started with the first book already in November now. And I did, once again, really enjoy it. For those of you who don't know, although I'm pretty sure most of you will know the premise of Percy Jackson follows Percy Jackson, who learns that he is the son of a Greek god as well as a mortal. So he has a mortal mother as well as a god as his father. And he is sent on a quest to find Zeus's lightning bolt because that has been stolen, and it is thought that he is the thief of the lightning bolt. And so yeah, I really enjoyed it again, and although I gotta say that some of the like Greek mythology stuff of course isn't very accurate, but what I really appreciate is that the way Rick Riordan changes and reinterprets Greek mythology isn't like just on a whim, but it's generally done in a way to make it like more digestible for younger readers, because of course this is a middle grade series. And so things happen like Medusa is suddenly Poseidon's girlfriend instead of, you know, his victim. And yeah, so of course there were some things in terms of changed mythology where as an adult or as someone who knows mythology, Greek mythology, you're like, that's not really accurate though, but it's understandable why it was changed, and that's what I appreciate. Although at points it's like too American for me, like especially the first book. But yeah, I enjoyed this, so I'm looking forward to continuing on with my reread. Next, I want to talk about The Dark Archive by Genevieve Cogman, which is book 7 in the Invisible Library series. And I don't think if you can see how like absolutely gorgeous this cover is, if I can get rid of my hairs. But anyway, this series follows Irene Winters, who is a librarian spy. And what that means is she works for the Invisible Library, hence the name of the series. And she goes to different alternate universes that all have like different timelines and different levels of technology and magic and so on. And she goes to steal books. And I gave this installment in the series 3.5 stars. Actually, it only comes out today, as you see it, on December 1st. But my bookstore had it early, so I grabbed the copy already. But yeah, I think this is one of the installments in the series that I enjoyed less, because I felt like there were some very big kind of revelations, like not really, but hints to revelations at the end of the book before that. And I felt like those revelations weren't really addressed. And that kind of actually seems to be a theme in this month's reading. And we'll get to another book later where the same thing happened. But yeah, I did still enjoy it, and it's a quick and easy read. And if you want to like an easy, solid series that's kind of in between urban and historical fantasy, that kind of has some technology, sci-fi elements as well as some steampunk elements and also dragons, then definitely go and check this series out. Then let's talk about the African Trilogy by Chinua Achebe, which I did after all finish in November already. I didn't wait to finish the last story in the trilogy in December. So this trilogy consists of Things Fall Apart, which I read in October, as well as No Longer at Ease, which I talked about in my first wrap-up of the month, and then also the last book, Arrow of God. And I would say overall this story I enjoyed more than the next two books I'm going to talk about. However, the last story, Arrow of God, I enjoyed less. Overall, this is kind of a generational story following different generations throughout colonization in Nigeria. And I really loved Things Fall Apart. I would give Things Fall Apart as a story 5 stars. I would give No Longer at Ease like 4.5 stars. And then I would only give Arrow of God 3.5 stars, to be honest. And the reason for that is that I feel like, for me personally, I would have wished Arrow of God to like pull the narrative together a little bit. However, the third story really changes in style and like overall the way it's presented. The first two stories we follow one single character. Both of them are in fact related to each other. The character in the second story is the grandson of the character in the first story. And you kind of follow that one character and how that one character deals with like whatever is thrown at him. However, in the last story you follow a mix of Nigerians as well as white colonizers, and you kind of have multiple different POVs. And I don't know, I couldn't really warm up to the style the story itself was told, and I also didn't feel like it kind of pulled together the potential of the trilogy as a whole. So that's why I only gave the last story 3.5 stars. However, overall I did give the trilogy 4 stars, and I would recommend you read it because I do think it is really, really interesting and also well written. Then I have The Camelot Betrayal by Kirsten White, which is the second book in the Camelot Rising series. The first book was The Guinevere Deception, and this series follows Guinevere, except she's not really Guinevere. We don't really know who she is, and this character is sent to King Arthur to protect him. And so we follow the mystery of who Guinevere really is, as well as, of course, the things that are thrown at her and Arthur. And I did not enjoy this one quite as much as the first book. However, I still really enjoyed it. And honestly, like, gotta be honest, the main reason I read any Arthurian retelling is Mordred. I know that Mordred a lot of times is technically the bad guy. I mean, it kind of depends on the iteration. I won't spoil what's the case in this one, but it kind of depends on iteration. But it doesn't matter if he's made the bad guy or if he is secretly one of the good guys. I always love Mordred. He's like one of my classics babies, together with Patroclus. Patroclus and Mordred are just like best beans. But yeah, I enjoyed this. There's not really that much more to say, and I can recommend this series if you want a good Arthurian retelling that doesn't follow like the Arthurian timeline too closely, but is in a lot of ways just more inspired by the whole thing. Then I also read How the King of Alphaem Learned to Hate Stories by Holly Black. This is a short story collection that belongs like with the Folk of the Air, the Cruel Prince series. And I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this. Sometimes I really don't care about short story collections. Like, you can haunt me with them, I don't care. However, this one I just found really fun and added a lot to the character of Cardan. And also there's like beautiful, beautiful illustrations in here. So I did really appreciate the story. It's a quick and easy read, and I gave this one 4 stars as well. And then the last book, of course, that I read in November is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. I won't talk about this one too long as well, because I do have a spoiler-free review that will be up tomorrow, and then my reading blog that will be up the day after, in which I attempted to read this 1,200 page chunker in 24 hours. I won't tell you if I managed. I mean, you will probably know if you follow me on Twitter, but like, if you want to know, you gotta watch that vlog otherwise. So yeah, Rhythm of War is just Brandon Sanderson's epic scope fantasy story. It's like his Wheel of Time. It's gonna be a 10-book series in 2 5-book arcs. So the next book is gonna be the finale of the first arc, which I'm really excited for. But yeah, this is the second book that I alluded to. That's kind of one of those books where there was a big revelation at the end of the last book, but that wasn't really talked about in this book, which kind of bummed me out. But otherwise, the thing I'm gonna say without getting into reviewing it already is that I enjoyed it more than Oathbringer. I think I enjoyed it slightly less than Words of Radiance, and I definitely enjoyed it less than Way of Kings, but Way of Kings is my absolute favorite in the series. I know a lot of people love Words of Radiance the most, but I don't know. There's something about first books for me that just... It's always the first books for me. It's the first or the last books. That's what it is. But yeah, that was it for this video. If you enjoyed it, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. Tell me in the comments down below what you have read in November, and also if you have read any of the books that I have read, what were your thoughts on them? Also, all the links to my social media, as always, are in the description box down below. Go and check them out. Again, the links to my book club are also there to be found. And with that said, I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!